Welcome, and thank you for joining me for lesson number 8. So, technology. This is a big one. And I think the reason it feels so overwhelming for a lot of parents isn't that they don't understand technology. It's that it moves so fast. By the time you've got a handle on one platform, 3 more have appeared. Settings change, new workarounds emerge. What worked last year might not work right now. So the approach that I want to take in this lesson is to focus on the basics, some of the core principles and practical starting points that come from research, and then we can build from there. The specifics will always be shifting, but the foundations tend to stay pretty stable. And the most stable foundation of all, which I'll keep coming back to, is this. The most effective thing you can do in this space isn't a setting or a control. It's the relationship you have with your child around this topic. So let's start there. The goal for this lesson is straightforward. By the end, I'd like you to feel more equipped to make a balanced and informed decision about how your family uses technology. They don't need to be perfect decisions, just balanced ones. Because this isn't about banning screens or locking everything down. It's about navigating this together in a way that's actually sustainable in the long term. So here's what we're covering. We'll look at your role as a decision maker when it comes to your child's digital life. We'll talk about the genuine benefits of technology for learning, as well as the real risks. We'll get into healthy habits, online safety, privacy and digital footprints, gaming, and some of the risks that I think every parent should at least have some basic awareness of. And then there's also a resources slide at the end with links to some short tutorial videos that I've put together, walking through some of the privacy settings on platforms that kids are actually using these days. So let's move on. So as always, let's start with how you think about your own role here. Research on parental involvement suggests that the approach parents take tends to fall somewhere on the spectrum. On the one end, you've got very high control, monitoring everything and restricting access, locking things down. And on the other hand, you have very little oversight at all. Neither extreme tends to work very well. Too much control and the kids find workarounds and rebel. And more importantly, they stop coming to you when something goes wrong, because they know that they'll get in trouble. And too little oversight, and kids are left to navigate some genuinely complicated spaces on their own before they're ready for it. The sweet spot is somewhere in the middle, and it shifts as your child gets older. Clear expectations, room for independence, and staying involved without it feeling like surveillance. That's the balance that we're aiming for. Now, before we get into the safety side of things, I want to make sure that we don't lose sight of what's actually good about technology. Because it's easy for these conversations to tip into being entirely negative, and that would be a bit unfair. There are real benefits. Kids can access information that simply wasn't available to previous generations. They can create and not just consume. They can connect with family members on the other side of the world. Technology can genuinely support kids with different learning needs in ways that traditional classrooms sometimes can't. But a lot of that value depends on how the technology is being used. Passive scrolling is not the same as active creation. 3 hours of watching videos is not the same as using a platform to build or learn something. The tool itself isn't the problem, it's the intentionality around it. And that's where parents play a role, not as gatekeepers, but as people who help shape the relationship their child has with these tools. This is a really serious topic, and there's a lot of emotion tied to it. So before we move on, I want you to take a moment to sit with this. What actually worries you most when you think about your child growing up in the digital world? Is it screen time, or who they're talking to, or something they might stumble across? The fact that you don't fully understand the platforms that they're using? Whatever it is, hold on to that, because naming this specific fear tends to be more useful than generally having a sense of anxiety about technology. It points you towards where you should focus first. So helpfully, UNICEF put together some solid practical guidance on this, and I want to share the parts that I found most useful because they're grounded and achievable rather than super idealistic. The things that make the biggest difference are not really that complicated. Firstly, talking regularly about your child's digital life, the same way that you talk about school sport, so that it becomes a normal topic rather than something that only comes up when there's a problem. Secondly, creating clear family agreements around technology. Not just restrictions, but positive expectations too. What does good digital behavior look like in your home? Thirdly, one thing that came up consistently in the research was, what do you do when your child comes to you with something that's upset or worried them online? This matters enormously. The instinct for a lot of parents is to immediately take the device away or react with alarm. But when that happens, kids stop telling you things. They learn that coming to you actually creates more problems than it solves. The response that keeps the door open is simple. Thank you for telling me. Just that, before anything else. And finally, the modeling piece. If we as parents are on our phones constantly, our kids will be too. That one's uncomfortable, but it's consistent across all the research. So when it comes to online safety and protecting children, there are a few fundamentals here worth building into family life, rather than treating them as one-off conversations. Clear agreements about who your child can communicate with online, where devices are in the house, and what happens if something feels wrong. These work much better when your child is a part of making them rather than just receiving them as a set of instructions. Privacy settings and parental controls are useful, especially for younger children, but they're a starting point and not a solution. The conversations still have to happen. The controls just provide some structure while your child's own judgments are still developing. And again, say, "Thank you for telling me," as your first response. It's worth being deliberate about this one because it goes against the instinct of most parents in that moment. But it's the response that means your child will hopefully come back to you next time, and that's what we want. So here's a practical one for you. Have a think about the platforms that your child uses the most. Do you know what the privacy settings look like on those platforms? Do you know who can contact your child? Or who can see their profile? Or what data those apps are collecting? If the answer is no to this question, it's totally normal. Many people feel this way, and this is a major block that's stopping people from learning about it, is the anxiety attached with it. But we as parents have the best resource at our fingertips, and that is other parents as well who have gone through similar issues. So I encourage you to speak to other parents in your community and see what works for them and try things out for yourself. The more you experiment, the more you learn, the more confident you'll feel about these issues. Now, none of this is new information. Most of us already know that everything online leaves a trace. Comments, likes, photos, searches, all of it. And that a lot of it is far more permanent than kids actually appreciate. But I think it's worth restating, because knowing something and actually building habits around it are two very different things. The goal here isn't to alarm anyone. It's to turn what we already know into something practical we can pass on to our kids. So the question worth teaching your child to ask before they post anything is, would I be okay if my teacher, my grandparents, or a future employer saw this? That's a simple filter that works at pretty much any age. And as parents, we can model it too. Narrate your own choices out loud sometimes. I'm not sharing this photo because it shows where we live. Small moments like that really build real awareness over time, much more than a lecture would. Gaming in this space tends to get a terrible reputation, and somewhat deservedly so. However, I do want to just push back a little bit on this so that we make sure that we have a balanced perspective here. A lot of games that kids are drawn to require genuine problem-solving, persistence, creativity, and collaboration. Many games, for all their reputation as time sinks, are actually pretty remarkable environments for design and experimentation. Multiplayer games involve real communication and teamwork, often under pressure, which is its own kind of learning. UNICEF suggests here to sit down and play with your child for about 15 minutes during a session. Not to monitor them, but just to understand their world and let them be the expert here. That shift where your child is the one teaching you something is genuinely good for the relationship. And you learn more about what they're actually doing in those 15 minutes than any monitoring app can tell you. The balance matters, of course. Gaming as one activity among many is fine. Gaming as the only activity is a very different conversation. Okay, I want to handle this slide carefully because it covers a serious topic and I don't want to create any unnecessary alarm. But I do think it's important that parents have a basic awareness. So here it is. The research describes how people with harmful intentions use the internet to access children. And the consistent finding is that it almost never starts with something obviously threatening. It usually starts with friendliness and attention and compliments and gradually building trust over time before anything inappropriate happens. I'm not sharing this to make anyone anxious. I'm sharing it because awareness is genuinely protective. When kids understand that someone being unusually interested or kind online can sometimes be a warning sign rather than just a nice thing, they're in a better position to recognize it. And when they know that they can come to you without being blamed or punished, they're more likely to do so. One phrase worth giving to your child directly is, if someone online asks you to keep a secret from me, that is a red flag. It's simple, it's clear, and it's something that they can actually hold on to. Okay, so this week's mini activities are a little bit different. They're more practical things to try at home. Some of them are activities, but others are habits or scripts that you want to make more common in your home in the interest of strengthening that communication and that relationship around this topic with your child. So many families already do this, the device-free dinner, no phones at the table for anyone, parents included. Use this as a talk time, and even use this to do a tech check-in where you ask 1 or 2 questions, like maybe what did you enjoy online this week? Did you see anything cool? Was anything super weird? And then just listen. Try not to get overly anxious about what they tell you, and talk gently and maybe offer some things that you've seen as well that seem a bit weird or funny or interesting. You could do a shared screen time. This is a nice activity where you join your child for 15 to 20 minutes, ask questions, let them be the expert, and you can learn so much from this. Now, something to maybe just program a little bit more into their minds is the privacy pause. So before posting anything, having that mental habit to ask, like, would I be okay if everyone could see this? And model it yourself before you post something as well. Maybe go and ask for their advice. What do they think? Do they think that you should post something? And then you can train them that way. And then also the pause and tell rule for if something is uncomfortable. Maybe if they feel something is uncomfortable that's happening online or somebody sends something, they shouldn't reply, they shouldn't delete anything, they shouldn't share it further. No action is the best, no online action. Instead, they should come straight to a trusted adult and show them what happened. Give the kids that clear script, because in the moment they often genuinely don't know what to do. And most importantly, say to them, thank you for telling me. No judgment, you're not in trouble. You want to make sure that kids come back to you and communicate. That is the most important thing. So what I've done here is I've put together a short list of some videos that might get you started in researching some of the basics around these things. This is just to get you started. I've got some videos about the privacy settings on some common apps that kids are using. Also something to help you with your browser settings that you use on your computer or your child's devices. Also something talking about AI and how that is going to be changing throughout the years. I encourage you to start here and just be curious and go look online. These things do tend to have a emotional or create an emotional reaction within us, but at the same time it's also good to be informed about these things so that you can have measured and really valuable conversations about this with your child and with your family. So if you're wanting to look at privacy settings, if you want to understand some of the technical side of things, please dive into this list and then also follow the rabbit hole and see what else you can learn as well in the suggested column of the videos that you find.